Hi, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I'm Sophie, and today, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be telling you about the 15 books that I've hauled recently. This is the stack of books. You can't see it all because of the camera, but I have 15 books here to talk about. Let's get started. The first one I picked up from Finted, and that's The Coffin Path by Catherine Clements. So this is secondhand, somebody's already read it. As you can tell, it's pretty worn, but I'm in the mood to really read a lot more horror, creepy books, especially books written by women, because I often feel like they're less known in this genre. But anyway, I didn't read the synopsis. I just looked at the cover and the title and who it was by. I've never read anything by this author before, but the synopsis says, maybe you've heard tales about Scarcross Hall, the house on the old coffin path that winds from village to moortop. They say there's something up there, something evil. Mercy Booth isn't scared. The moors in Scarcross are her home and lifeblood, but beneath her certainty, small things are beginning to trouble her. 3 ancient coins missing from her father's study, the shadowy figure out by the gatepost, an unshakable sense that someone is watching. When a stranger appears, seeking work, Mercy reluctantly takes him in. As their stories intertwine, this man will change everything. She just can't see it yet. It sounds dark and twisted, very sinister, and I think that it might be something that gives me the creeps. If you watch my November TBR, I was talking about genres that make me nervous or actually make me scared to read or watch, and that is stalking or the feeling of being watched and home invasion. So I'm actually really looking forward to reading this now that I've actually read it, so I'm looking forward to this. And then I picked up a holographic one, Out of the Ice by Anne Turner. So I saw this on a post all about polar horror books, and if you know me, my favourite subgenre of horror is polar based. The synopsis for Out of the Ice is, when environmental scientist Laura is sent to a remote Antarctic island to report on an abandoned whaling station, she begins to uncover more than she could ever imagine. This freezing and lonely landscape should be uninhabited, and yet she increasingly comes to believe she's not alone. As she comes face to face with the dark side of humanity, she also discovers a legacy of love, hope, and the meaning of family, if only she can make it out of the ice alive. So I'm intrigued. I'm so excited, and yeah, sounds amazing. Definitely something that I would be really interested in. So I'm quite surprised I haven't actually found it before now, but I have it and it's going to be read really soon. Next up is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. Again, this was another find on Vinted. Somebody was selling it, so picked it up because I saw other people talking about this being highly recommended. So really looking forward to this one as well. The next book that I purchased was The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. I bought this secondhand on Vinted as well. Been wanting to pick up some of this author's books for a while because they're everywhere, and I really love the sound of their work. So the synopsis for this says, pray that they are hungry. Kara finds the words in the mysterious bunker that she's discovered behind a hole in the wall of her uncle's house. Freshly divorced and living back at home, Kara now becomes obsessed with these cryptic words and starts exploring this peculiar area, only to discover that it holds portals to countless alternate realities. But these places are haunted by creatures that seem to hear her thoughts, and the more one fears them, the stronger they become. Sounds terrifying and really intriguing. I've not read anything by this author before, so I'm intrigued to find out more about this writing style and see if I'm going to really like it. Next up is another polar book, and that's Dark Matter, a ghost story by Michelle Paver. The synopsis says, out of nowhere, for no reason, I was afraid. My skin pricked, my heart thudded in my throat. My body knew before I did that I was not alone. London, 1937. Jack is poor, lonely, and desperate to change his life. So when he's offered the chance to join an Arctic expedition, he jumps at it. Spirits are high as the ship leaves Norway, and at last they reach the remote uninhabited bay where they will camp for the next year. But the Arctic summer is brief as night returns to claim the land. Jack feels a creeping unease. One by one, his companions are forced to leave. Soon Jack will see the last of the sun, the sea will freeze, and escape will be impossible. And Jack is not alone. Something walks there in the dark. So I read a recent release called All the White Spaces by Ali Wicht, and it sounds really familiar to this book by just reading that synopsis. And that was a 5-star read for me. One of my favourite books of 2022. I'm actually kind of excited to read Dark Matter now. Next up, we have Waking the Witch by Rachel Bergs. Picked this up in a charity shop for 99p. Didn't know anything about it. Wanted something more witchy and something based within the UK. And I read the synopsis and it was like, okay, that's what I've been looking for. So the synopsis says, when Ivy's search for her mother draws her to a remote Welsh isle, she uncovers a dark secret about her past. An ancient and corrupt power is stalking Ivy, and her only chance of survival is to look deep within herself. For not every story and legend is true, and some evils are not what they seem. So I immediately thought that this sounded very similar to The Lighthouse Witches that I read earlier in the summer, where they travelled to Scotland, where this one is Wales. I feel like this is going to be a very interesting read, and I'm hoping there's some female empowerment in this, because I really enjoyed the Year of the Witching this year, and that's why I kind of wanted to read more witchy books. So we'll see if that lives up to the hype. Next up, we have a short novella, and that's Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. I don't know how to pronounce this name. I've been saying it like that, so I hope that's right. So this one is about a woman who's terminally ill, and somebody who's beside her is asking her stories and bringing up the past that's caused her to be in this state that she's in. And yeah, it just follows that premise, and I feel like it's going to be very psychological. If you want to know more about this, it's in my November TBR, so I'll link it up here and also in the description. Then the next one is This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Markule. This one is about a mother-daughter relationship, and it follows the family trauma that can happen with toxic relationships. It's a really short novella. Again, it's in my November TBR, so check that out if you want to read more into what this is about. Then we have Anybody Home by Michael J. Sedlinger. Again, this is also in my November TBR. Basically, it's about home invasion. Then I picked up another book in the charity shop for 99p, and that's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is so popular. I wouldn't have picked this up if it wasn't so popular, but it says, reclusive Hollywood icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant to write her story, no one is more astonished than Monique herself. From making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to leaving show business in the 80s, and of course to 7 husbands along the way, Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. But as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. So, sounds pretty interesting. Not horror-y, but we'll see. So you might find a video project on this at some point. And then also during that charity shop trip, I picked up The Patient. This is a thrillery book based in the healthcare industry. The synopsis is pretty short. It just says, when Rachel meets Luke, the attraction is instant, but she is a doctor and he is her patient. She gives him the drugs he needs, but in doing so, risks everything. And when a secret is exposed, they're both in the firing line. Not all patients tell the truth. So I feel like it's going to be pretty interesting and dark. And then we also have another polar based book, which is Blood and Ice by Robert Masello. Basically, this one says, when journalist Michael Wilde is commissioned to write a feature about a remote research station deep in the frozen beauty of Antarctica, he is prepared for some extraordinary sights. But on a diving expedition in the polar sea, he comes across something so extraordinary as to be almost unbelievable. A man and a woman chained together deep in the ice. The doomed lovers are brought to the surface, but as the ice begins to thaw, the scientists discover the unusual contents of the bottles buried beneath the pair and realize that they are in terrible danger. It's kind of like a vampire-based story, but vampires in Antarctica. So I'm intrigued and really looking forward to picking this one up at some point. And then we have Goldilocks by Laura Lamb. I picked this up in the works during their sale, and I've heard about this before because of climate related books that I was searching for. The synopsis says, despite increasing restrictions on the freedom of women on Earth, Valerie Black is spearheading the first all-female mission to the planet in the Goldilocks zone, where conditions are just right for human habitation. It's humanity's last hope for survival. And Naomi, Valerie's surrogate daughter, and the ship's botanist have been waiting her whole life for an opportunity like this. Step out of Valerie's shadows and really make a difference. But when things start to go wrong on the ship, Naomi starts to suspect that someone on board is concealing a terrible secret and realizes time for life on Earth may be running out faster than they feared. So it sounds like it's a dystopian with a lot of hope and heavy on symbolism for climate change that we're currently facing. I had to pick it up, so that's that one. And finally, the last book that I have to show you is The Reckoning by Alma Katsu. This one is the second book in the Immortal Love Story trilogy. I read The Taker last month. Yeah, September, I think, actually. Anyway, so this is the second one. Again, I picked this one up secondhand, and it basically is just following on from that story where a vampire falls in love with somebody. I don't really want to read the synopsis just in case I spoil myself, because I did that with Robin Hood and I ruined the second book in the first trilogy for myself. So this is the second book in that trilogy, and to be fair, I wasn't that much of a fan of the first one. I only rated it 3 stars because I'm not really a fan of romance, so I'm not sure how this one will go, but I started the series, so I'm going to finish it. That's that book. So these are all of the books that I've recently hauled. I hope you have liked it. If you have, it'd be really nice if you give it a like. Let me know in the comments which of these books sound interesting to you, or if you've read any of these. I'd really like to know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!